Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the latest session of TechLearnTalks. Today's session is an introduction to Internet of Things. And we have a fantastic session for you today with our usual keynote introduction that is in non-jargonistic terms and a wonderful case study. And we'll introduce our speakers shortly. My name is Ursula Weinhoven. I'm the IT representative to the UN in New York, and it's my pleasure to introduce my partner in crime on this series, Johanna Joachim from the UN Innovation Network. Johanna, do you want to give us a brief introduction and remind people about what TechLearnTalks are all about?
Certainly. Thank you, Ursula. Thanks for suggesting the TechLearnTalks in the first place. And it's funny, I also always think of you as my partner in crime, so we've ended up in a good adventure here together. So I just wanted to share a quick reminder why we launched this learning series, actually at the end of last year, pre-COVID. And on the next slide, you will see why. And it's essentially because the world is changing and the UN must change with it to stay relevant. And there's no one in the UN who realizes that more than the Secretary General himself. And in his first term, he's repeatedly stressed that innovation is a priority for him and that he expects all colleagues in the UN to do things differently, to experiment, play with technology, and really bring the UN to the 21st century. And he's not just talked about innovation, but he's also developed a number of very actionable strategies and roadmaps and toolkits and other resources to help UN colleagues do that, to embrace innovation and technology. And here on the slide, you can see we have a roadmap for digital cooperation. We have a practical guide to blockchain. He's launched an innovation toolkit. Most recently, he's appointed a UN envoy on new technologies. It's the first time we've ever had this role in the UN. And he's also included innovation and data and digital very prominently in his bid for re-election as Secretary General. So it really is a priority for him. And we are so very lucky to have high-level support for that. But I always say that I think it can be a little bit scary if someone has such high expectations on you to use all these new technologies that are out there. And it can be really hard to even think about how we would work with them, especially if you don't have a background in technology and they're entering this world for the first time. This world is just dominated by fun jargon and language that I don't understand. So to make it easy, or to at least try and give this introduction to new technologies, we launched this TechLearnTalk series. And on the next slide, you will see that we really, like Ursula said, we try and avoid any jargon and introduce you to a new technology. The original plan was every month. We're now in the second year, so we've changed the frequency slightly. I'm very happy to be partnering with ITU and OICT on this. As you can see, we've already launched a bunch of TechLearnTalks, and they always have this non-technical introduction to the technology, and followed by an application, a case study of how the UN is already using them. And here on this slide here, you can see which ones we've already done: blockchain, AR, VR, AI, 3D printing. And I just want to say that most of them were actually done in collaboration with UN entities. So with only one exception, all of the keynotes, the introductions and the case studies came from within the UN system. And it's so wonderful to see how much expertise and knowledge there is within that. I just want to say, in case you missed any of these, they're recorded. You can see the link down there. I'll post it in the chat just now. And the session will also be recorded and we'll publish it shortly after. And with that, I'm going to say thank you and back to you, Ursula.
Thank you so much, Johanna. And now I think perhaps might be a good opportunity to do a little poll just to see how many Internet of Things devices folks have in their household. And I don't know is also an option, so feel free. It's always interesting to see these results coming through.
It is always interesting, I agree, Ursula, and it's very nice for our presenters as well.
Yes,
exactly. Give them a sense of where we are. So let's leave it open for another 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And of course, the number is rising all the time.
Great.
Terrific. The results coming up.
So I actually think there may have been a technical glitch. How ironic.
Oh, okay, no worries. But I think we all saw it before it closed, and it looked like the leading result was between 1 and 5. didn't it? Yeah. Great. Okay, so thanks so much for that, Paul. And all the more reason for us to have this session so people can better understand these devices that are in our homes and in other places elsewhere as well. So just a reminder, everyone, the Q&A function, which probably everyone's used to by now on the bottom of the screen, feel free to put your questions in there at any stage during the webinar. As you may know, if you've joined previous sessions in the TechLearnTalk series, we have two main Q&A sessions. We'll have one after the keynote introduction, and then we'll have another one after the case study where you'll have an opportunity to ask questions of both our speakers. For the chat, if, for instance, you have Internet of Things experiences or examples that you want to share, also feel free, if you've got links and things like that, to paste them in the chat. So with that, if we could go to the next slide, we want to introduce our fantastic speakers today from the UN system. We have Christina Boetti, counsellor at ITU, and we have Vera Kirienko, asset management specialist from UNDP. So we'll be starting with Christina, who's going to do the non-jargonistic intro, and then we'll follow that with the first Q&A, then we'll have Vera speak, and then we'll have the longer Q&A. So without further ado, Christina, over to you. We're so looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula, and then thank you very much also, Joanna, and good day to all participants, and thank you for joining this session. So my name is Christina Boetti, and I'm actually the counselor for ITU, and I'm also the focal point on smart sustainable cities and IoT. And I'm very pleased today actually to share with you actually information on the Internet of Things. So my presentation specifically will briefly cover what we call it the IoT basics. So what it is IoT, what does it include, why IoT is so important now. We will also be looking at the application of IoT, for example, in smart cities, the IoT role in achieving in helping actually to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the IoT application in smart cities. But as you know, also with great opportunities, there are also some challenges. So we will be discussing a bit the IoT challenges, the future of IoT, and then I'll briefly conclude my presentation. So saying that, what it is really IoT? So I think that's really a technology that has grown a lot in the latest few years, and it is actually showing great advances across all sectors. With this rapid growth and advancement, we have seen the rise of Internet of Things, or as we usually call it, IoT, which is a global infrastructure for the information society, enabling actually advanced services by interconnecting the physical and virtual things based on existing and evolving interoperable information and communication technologies. So really, in short, IoT is essentially interconnected devices communicating with the internet. And IoT enables also the interaction between really a wide variety of these devices, including, for example, surveillance cameras, sensors, mobile devices, vehicles, and much more. Now, we also know that the number of connected devices is expected to grow significantly this decade. There are estimates that show that by 2025, IoT's economic impact can reach over $11 trillion worldwide. So, as you can imagine, this is really a new emerging technologies that can have a great impact. And what does IoT include? And why, you know, we really think that it is a game changer technologies. So IoT includes machine-to-machine communication directly between devices and wireless sensor networks on the connectivity side, but it also in terms of the content outcomes produced, IoT also comprises the big data transmitted between machines and between devices and people. So machine to people and machine to machine. And this can include machine-produced data from sensors, RFID chips, nanotechnologies, and also the communication of that data via connectivity technologies such as machine-to-machine and wireless sensor networks. So a broader definition of IoT also includes ambient intelligence technologies and smart environment, which we will be looking later on. So why IoT is so important? Why is IoT needed now? We do believe that IoT is an essential piece of technology that will improve significantly over time. And it can be considered also an indispensable technology because it provides the ability to track and monitor a vast number of things. It gives the opportunity actually to collect data that can lead to better decisions. If we look, for example, at policymakers, IoT results in the development of devices that need little or no human intervention, allowing them to operate entirely independently through automation. So these are some of the reasons why we have seen that, you know, really the great implementation of IoT in smart cities can foster digital transformation. It can help us to achieve the sustainable development goals, and it can be also a great application used in a variety of forms in smart sustainable cities. But let us have a quick look on IoT as one of the critical digital transformation technologies. So cities, big and small, can digitally transform by using IoT platform to digitize physical products. In that case, IoT can reshape these cities, providing, for example, real-time insights to improve actually really the services, and also to have a better efficiency and enhance the citizen experience and quality of life. So the technology underpinning also IoT can help to analyze and activate data, which are essential in generating complete innovative experiences and transforming also the operating really models in both business and governance. Many also of the emerging technologies are related, or I would say interrelated with IoT, especially artificial intelligence, big data. And now it is becoming very feasible to implement IoT also in scalable projects worldwide. Therefore, ensuring that we have affordable and wide-scale deployment of IoT enabling technologies will assure a further advancement and adoption of these that we can call it as frontier technologies. We also note that IoT applications can be found in several urban domains, such as, for example, urban utilities, home utilities, automation, medical aids. We have mobile healthcare, sustainable buildings, smart energy management, and so on. So we do think that IoT can be a crucial enabler of the smart society, and can certainly create, a condition whereby we see that having an efficient, effective, and secure ecosystem by taking really advantage of the connected devices can help cities, countries, policymakers really to manage the significant global challenges. And in doing so, it can help to address human, economic, and environmental needs and directly contribute to achieving the UN Sustainable Goals. So there are really many IoT applications for the SDGs, especially in cities, which we will see in the next few slides, starting from, for example, smart homes, And we see that IoT, for example, and smart home technology have become increasingly integrated in our everyday life. Maybe you are not really aware, but many of us, for example, have already in our homes the smart thermostats that can control how home's heating from a mobile device, or there are various smart appliances or smart entertainment devices that can be controlled via vocal command. I'm not gonna make specific examples to avoid publicity, but I'm sure that you have already imagined what I'm referring to. And there are also smart security methods, like, for example, the surveillance cameras, home security systems, motion sensors that can notify you if any suspicious activity is happening in your house or through phone alerts. There are also great opportunities that are being offered by IoT also for traffic management, emission reduction, and infrastructure optimization. These examples include, for example, the smart city use of IoT to achieve an energy efficiency and environmentally friendly infrastructure. There are examples also that include the smart lighting. So, for example, only giving light when someone walks past, and there is also possibility to set the brightness levels and track daily the use in order to reduce actually the need for electrical power. If I look, for example, at intelligent transport solutions that can control traffic flow, so roadside sensors that send the real-time updates to a central platform that analyzes the data and automatically adjusts traffic lights accordingly. We have great example, for example, in Brazil that is using, for example, this technology successfully in Rio. Or the use of intelligent parking sensors that send an alert to a driver when a vehicle has left the parking area, and this helps the driver to find a free parking space. I'm sure that if you have had the possibility to visit Dubai, you actually enjoyed one of these applications. And last but not least, there is also the possibility to adopt for city smart waste management solutions, which can help to optimize the waste collection efficiency. That can help, of course, to reduce cost and address the environmental issues that are associated with waste management. So these are also some of the applications that we see in cities. But IoT is also extremely important in other sectors, like, for example, agriculture. And when we look at IoT-based farming, a sensor system can accurately monitor the crop field for light, humidity, temperature, soil moisture conditions, and this really makes actually the IoT-based farming comparatively more efficient than a conventional approach. So, for example, these include the livestock monitoring, the conservation monitoring, the plant and soil monitoring for precision farming, and of course the smart greenhouse house. But smart agriculture is not really the only sector. We look, for example, at the manufacturing, and major forces driving IoT in the manufacturing market are the growing need for really centralized monitoring and predictive maintenance of manufacturing infrastructure. I think that now more than ever, the increasing demand for agile production, operational efficiency and control, and demand-driven supply chain and connected logistics, it is really driving actually the IoT market. Another area which is really extremely important is certainly health. I think that now that we are all living in unprecedented times with the pandemic and with COVID-19, we are looking at health in a completely different manner. And the IoT's use in healthcare enables, for example, high performance for medical images, connected and remote care, optimized computing systems, for example, sensors that can collect patient data, or cloud computing to store, process, and analyze the data. And if we look at the web and mobile application for patients and healthcare providers, these are just some of the examples how IoT is really improving the healthcare sectors or delivery of services. Another great area where IoT is making a difference is related, for example, to water, electricity and gas, usually known as the utilities. So, for example, energy production, delivery, and use are getting more efficient and sustainable with IoT. IoT-enabled sensors, devices, and data analytics can give also the intelligence to equipment and deliver operational insights, which allow really the energy companies to manage assets, decrease the maintenance and transmission cost, and also improve the worker safety. If we look, for example, at interoperable, secure, and scalable industrial computers and software components are powering the advance of smart energy. These are just of the some of the examples on how IoT is really actually improving the maintenance in the utility sectors. But there are other areas like, for example, smart water management, which involves really integrating systems and measures to monitor, control, and regulate water usage and quality. And these, of course, systems include really a wide range of hardware and software instruments, from the sensors, meters, the visualization tools, in a certain way that are able to connect people with the water systems. Of course, we know very well that while in IoT certainly holds really a great promise of a game changer in helping to achieve the SDGs, with IoT, there are also some common challenges, and it's important that like other digital technologies such as AI, 5G, we look at these challenges, which include, for example, the lack of interoperability in various solutions and equipment. And really, the interoperability issue is key. Because it arises from a significant percentage of the IoT solution on the market only working with certain types of hardware, sensors, or machine. And if we look, for example, at the city context, IoT initiative can only be successful if they can be maintained, updated, and scaled regardless of the hardware use. So interoperability is key. And many of the challenges also related to IoT can have security implications. Therefore, IoT ecosystems are considered only as safe as the weakest link in the system. So there is really significant heterogeneity in security practices and requirements between part of the ecosystems, but also between countries. As you know, different connectivity technologies and also different security characteristics. And these are just some of the, let's say, common challenges, but also based on these challenges, the question is really, how can we best prepare for what more is to come in terms of IoT? So we need really to have a sort of a mindset based on security, which is really essential. We should remain critical to understand the risk posed despite the benefit of a specific technology, and whether that is a data loss or for example, hacking, or even understanding the potential risk that lie when, for example, a city decide to integrate this new technology into their platform. So we need also to have what it is called a layer approach. So layers of protection that can help counter the known security risk of emerging technologies such as IoT. Technology is advancing quickly, and it's also hard to keep up with all potential vulnerabilities. However, it is still possible to know when your city weakness is or sector are, and what could be a potential cause of threat. Another key component is also education, because education on risk can help to integrate the technology effectively and safely. Any other downsides can be certainly minimized through the implementation of policies aimed at limiting also the socioeconomic cost. And understanding really the IoT as a technology and how it works and its implication has been really the work that it has been done in particular by the International Telecommunication Union. So the ITU is the specialized agency of the United Nations responsible for information and communication technologies. ITU has really played a vital role in establishing the trajectory and standardizing frontier technologies such as the Internet of Things. And through its IoT Study Group 20 is developing really a set of standards that can help especially cities to implement these technologies successfully. Of course, this work cannot be done alone by the ITU, and this is the reason why, for example, the UN system has really joined forces and has created a new initiative which is called the United for Smart Sustainable Cities, which comprises 17 UN bodies with one goal really to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 11 on sustainable cities and communities. The EU4SCC serves as a platform to advocate for public policy and encourage, of course, the use of digital technologies, including the IoT, in order to facilitate really the transition to smart, sustainable cities. And I encourage all of you actually to join the EU4SCC. You can join for free and participate in the various thematic groups. So when we look, for example, at the IoT Future or IoT 2.0, we have seen even from the poll that was launched just before we started this presentation, that really IoT is still in its early stages. So further along in the IoT 2.0, we will see that all digital transformation technologies will be able to interact, and we will be able also to call an internet of transformation of technologies, where processes, people, benefits, outcomes, and real life opportunity will be able actually to interact together. We already see, for example, the convergence of IoT, AI, and big data analytics, which are taking place, but this will be further accentuated in the future. So IoT 2.0 is already taking us from the device and data to actionable intelligence. This is why some experts refer to it to the intelligence of things instead of the Internet of Things. And with even greater awareness and information about status, about the function, about the environment, in the future IoT will shift from machine to machine and something to everything communication, to everything communication. So we are going to have a much anticipated era of probably an IoT 3.0. And well, with that, we see that certainly the untapped potential of IoT is significant, even if it is still in its infancy stage. The application like driverless cars and personal assistant devices are also starting to take off. And for IoT to reach really its true potential, all devices, regardless of the context or use case, need to be able to communicate with each other and overcome those challenges that we saw before, like, for example, interoperability or security. This means that companies would need to ensure that there is really a possibility to protect the information that they collect on users. This is because the future adoption of IoT, especially among citizens, organizations, and governments, is really related to trust. that is trust regarding security, transparency in data usage, clear information, and so forth. It is so important. So with this, I really would like to conclude and hope that you found this presentation useful. Thank you really for joining me, and please ask any questions, or if you would like, feel free to drop me an email or check our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christina. That was very informative and comprehensive. And I see a number of questions coming in through the Q&A. So we'll turn to those now. And as many people know, you can also give existing questions a thumbs up, which will cause the question to rise up. So feel free to do that as well if you wish. So the first question that we have here is, what do you think are the repercussions of the inequitable access to IoT technology for nations, whether it's smart cities or smart agriculture? How can we ensure that other nations are not left behind? I know you alluded to this a little bit at the end, but what was your response on that?
Well, I do, first of all, thank you for these really important questions, because inequitable access to IoT, like, you know, other also emerging technologies, is something that we should all work together to prevent. Certainly, it is important for governments to put in place the right policies to ensure that new emerging technologies have also the possibility to flourish. We know that sometimes technologies goes a bit faster than policies, and nonetheless, you know, it is also equally important that especially policymakers ensure that there is appropriate protection is putting in place when we discuss new technology and issues related, as the question asked, on data security, privacy, and protection of risk of for citizens. These are really key questions, but the importance for me, I believe, is that really having the right policies in place can help to flourish a specific technology, and in this case, IoT.
Thank you so much. I see the next one's actually from Kat, but I think Kat mentioned she wants to adjust her question a little bit, so maybe we'll come back to that. But just as a heads up, it emphasizes data security, privacy, and protection risks, and I saw you mention that in the presentation as well as some of the key issues that folks need to be aware of. But Kat, feel free to put your new question in so that we can ask it. So we'll go to the next one, which is interest in smart agriculture. Where can people learn more, and including which companies might be involved? Any tips on that front for folks interested in smart agriculture?
Yes, well, first of all, if you would like to know more on smart agriculture, I would really encourage to visit the ITU website. In particular, the development sector of the ITU is doing great work in this area, and we have produced several reports. We are also carrying out several projects in countries. Therefore, you know, I'll be more than happy actually to share with you the link where you can find a lot of great resources. We also have a great global portal which gathers a series of reports, latest reports in the area of smart agriculture. There are many companies that are working in this area, from, I mean, avoiding to make publicity, but certainly I would say that you know, one of the most active company in the smart agriculture is Monsanto, that is, you know, driving probably half of the market. So I'm sure that you can find some information even on their projects.
Thank you so much, Christina. And I believe, of course, there's FAO and great collaborations with FAO as well.
Yes. Yes, of course, FAO has a lot also. Well, FAO, first of all, they lead on agriculture in general. So I believe that they should be really the point of reference in general on agricultural matters. The work I was referring to actually is carried out jointly with FAO. So that I think it is a great resource. It's actually a very good collaboration between ITU and FAO in that area. But I'm sure that once again, we will be able to point really to share any information on that.
Thanks so much, Christina. And a question that we often get in the TechLearnTalks is about the cost and expense associated with the particular technologies. So we have a question here: how expensive are IoT devices? Another part to the question: what happens when internet connectivity is disrupted? How do IoT devices cope with that?
Well, I think that to respond to the first question, how expensive are IoT devices, probably the response is depends. If it is a surveillance camera, I'm sure that you can find one at a very cheap price, actually. If we're talking about putting in place, for example, a monitoring system for air quality in a city, I'm sure that, putting sensors around the city is more expensive. So that really depends on the exact use that you make of that technology. Let's say the other question that it is more, how can I say, it really also depends on the implementation that is made by that specific technology. So once again, whether it is, for example, in a city or whether it is private, that makes really a huge difference. And the IoT technology, I would say that there is a quite good range of prices. So you might be surprised, but it might be also cheap, as well as, pretty expensive in certain cases.
Yes, thank you so much. Now we have other questions here, and as I mentioned, there's a second Q&A period that comes right after Vera's presentation, and I think some of the questions that are being asked, Vera may have views on as well. So thank you so much, Christina. And please stay with us so that we can ask you more questions in the second part of this. But now let's turn to Vera, who I believe is going to share her screen so that she can share her wonderful presentation with us.
Thank you, Christina. And let me share my screen. Let me know if you could see it.
Something's starting to happen. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yep, it's visible. I think you want to put it in. Yep, lovely, beautiful.
Right.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, all, and thank you so much, Christina, for this very informative overview of the IoT technology. And today I'm happy to present you how UNDP put IoT into work and created an IoT fleet management solution. Until recently, our organization didn't have a unified and corporate tool to precisely monitor how our fleet was being used in a diverse scenarios and geographies. Although some offices did have employed different
Vera, sorry to interrupt you. Your video isn't on. Just so if you wish, just wanted to flag that to you in case you did want to put your video on while you're presenting. It's up to you.
Sorry, yeah, give me one sec. All right, can you see me now? All right, all is good. So, like I said, we didn't have a unified corporate tool before, and individual fleet were managed in different ways, but primarily most of UNDP fleets were managed through a paper-based system. So in 2019, UNDP partnered with Microsoft and Quest Global, and we built a solution that brings efficiency, effectiveness in managing our fleets, and also ensures that it's operated in a safe way. So how IoT technology is being realized in the fleet management solution? So we use a special device, which is called dongle, which installed in a vehicle and collects various information about the vehicle and the trip. For example, it collects data about vehicle speed, GPS location, vehicle health, and other parameters. Then it transmits this data to the cloud using a special IoT management software developed by Quest Global and Microsoft Azure. Data is streamed directly from directly to the cloud from the vehicle interface. Communication is happened through 2G, 3G network and cellular Wi-Fi. And dashboard displays fleet tracking information, and the Power BI is used to develop various reports. We use ODB2 port dongles, which do not require any special hardwiring. It's so-called plug-and-play devices. So you can change and switch them between different vehicles. And for better convenience and the use on the go, we have also developed mobile applications. Mobile applications are available for Android and iOS phones, and they have the same functionality as a web platform. And what is very good also is that the solution has an integrated vehicle booking tool. Okay, so utilization of the fleet tracking solution is helping us to realize multiple benefits. For example, the drivers, they are now more conscious about the speed and the defensive driving. The fleet is taking less trips and using less fuel. It also helps to optimize efficiency of the fleet operations. And of course, most importantly, it provides you with a real-time monitoring. With IoT technology, you get visibility into your fleet like you never had before. Live monitoring of the fleets on the dashboard allows you to see different information, which is really helpful and needful in the day-to-day management of your fleet operations. So for example, on this screen, you see the 4 main snippets of the information presented on our fleet management dashboard. So let's start on the left side of these 4 snippets. At the bottom, you see a map which shows you the trip, how it has happened. It shows you the start and end points, and information is plotted on a map for better visibility. You can use a pegman, you can drag it on the map, and then you can switch to the street view for better understanding where exactly vehicle was during this trip. The chart above the map shows you the trip safety analysis. So it immediately gives you an information about the driver behavior. The red dotted line is a speed limit established in our organization, and the blue line is the speed of this actual trip. So whenever the blue line will go above the red, it would indicate a speeding event. Also, to have a quickly grasp that situation and to be easily visible, we did a color coding of the trip information. So for example, if there would be a speeding event during the trip, this sector of the trip will be marked in red on the map. So that blue line on the map that you see, which represents the trip taken by the vehicle, it will have a red intervals where the speed of the vehicle was above the limit. Again, this is very helpful for the fleet manager because, for example, the vehicle could have been on the highway, so there is a understandable reason why the vehicle might go above the set average speed limit in our organization. So the little table on the top right corner, it shows you details of each and individual trip undertaken by the vehicle. So let's say if the vehicle had 2, 3, 10 trips during the day, you will see listing of all these trips, and you can click and see individual details or more details about those particular trips. Our tool also has several built-in reports. And for example, the safety report, it gives you the information about harsh braking, harsh acceleration, towing events, possible incident events, and geofence in and out of the vehicle. And the safety reporting, it's a very important report for evaluating UNDP progress and implementing the road safety strategy. Now let's have a quick look at the booking feature. The booking feature really makes the platform a complete solution because it's integrated with the vehicle, it's integrated with all the parties involved in the fleet management. So users allowed to book a vehicle in any of the UNDP fleet participating in the program. So for example, if you are on mission to a different country office, you just simply log in into the platform and you book a vehicle as if you have been in your own home country. The system allows you to book 3 different types of vehicle requests. You can book a vehicle with a driver, you can book just a vehicle for yourself driving, or you can book a seat on a shuttle if, for example, you have a shuttle services in your office. There is an option to provide authorization documents, upload files, so that the fleet manager will be empowered to approve your request. The booking form has a lot of fields and allows you to provide a lot of information. For example, it gives you an option to indicate how many passengers will be on a trip, if you have any luggage with you, so that the fleet manager can assign the vehicle which is most suited for your needs. We also have a chat of accounts fields available here. So if you need to do cost recovery for the provided transportation services, the information can be entered here, and all the details from all the bookings, they can be exported in Excel, they can be sorted, filtered, analyzed, and you can create cost recovery if needed. The good feature of the booking tool is that it has a built-in logic to prevent overbooking. It will allow fleet managers only to assign a vehicle which will be available at the requested time. And also, it will not allow a user to book a vehicle for the time slot which has already been booked. So you see that little screen popped up here. It shows that whenever user will try to book a vehicle and at that time there are no free vehicle available, this pop-up will give suggestion to the client to choose any other available time slot. So it's very helpful to all parties of the process. Overall, the submission of the
Vera,
booking request.
I was just thinking, to ensure that we have time for some more questions, maybe just wrap up in the next minute.
It's a wrapping up, exactly.
Lovely.
It's almost the last slide in my
Very
presentation.
good. Thank you.
So you have it's a very easy process to book a vehicle. All the process is very intuitive and user friendly, and most importantly, all the notifications happening automatically through the system. So a requester, fleet manager, and the driver, they all will get automated notifications by email. So the use of the IoT fleet technology helped us to get a better visibility of our fleets and our fleet operations. And it also allowed UNDP to manage fleets in a more efficient, effective, and sustainable way, because it allows you to reduce environmental impact. It bolsters donor confidence that funds are used properly. And of course, it keeps our staff and communities secure. And this concludes the presentation of my project, and I want to open floor to any questions. And thank you for your participation in today's presentation, colleagues. Over to you, Christina.
Wonderful, Vera. Thank you so much, and some really clear and robust benefits from use of this technology. So I think in the interest of time, we'll take a few questions at once and then come back to both of you, because we do have a hard stop at 10. And just to remind everyone that the slides and the recording will be on the UN Innovation Network website. So I know Kat had a question before from DCO and she has reposted it. So let's look at her question. She says that her question is, what standards and norms are evolving around data privacy and protection, given the potential concerns about surveillance and companies' misuse of data to erode privacy? So that's one question. And then let's see which other ones are getting lots of likes. Another one on data privacy, it's a top concern, it seems. in thinking about personal data privacy, what's the emerging potential for machine-to-machine negotiation, acceptance, and reporting of terms of data transfers? And then I see the next one getting lots of likes. People are loving your case study, Vera. How long did UNDP take to implement the IoT fleet management system? And there's another one for you, Vera. Can the dongle work offline and transmit data when it gets connectivity in the office after the trip has been completed? Can it work in areas where there is no mobile connectivity? So let's come back to both of you now on that set of questions, answering whichever ones you feel are relevant to you. Vera, why don't we take you first, since a couple of those were particularly about your case study, and then we'll come to Christina. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the, and thank you, colleagues, for these very peaceful questions. Indeed, we had the same when we were developing this solution. And the privacy is taken very seriously, and confidentiality of information as well. So for these purposes, only the use of organizational devices is allowed in this platform. So the staff will be logged in with their only work UNDP profiles. So you won't be able to access that information within your, like a private emails. And of course, the data connection is secured. It has these built-in features from the Azure platform, which provides very strong security around the data transfer and connectivity. And overall, for us, the development and implementation of this solution took maybe around 12 months or so, because we were developing the software. It was not like off the shelf. So we customized it to the needs of our offices. We got feedback from the offices. We added features and layout and the functionality based on what has been requested by our offices. But majority of what you see on the screen or the features that we have, they applicable to any office who runs fleet management services. The dongles that we use, like I said, they use Wi-Fi connectivity and cellular network connectivity. Every dongle has the storage inside. So whenever you run outside the mobile or Wi-Fi coverage, the data about the trip, it will be stored and recorded in a week in the dongle. And once you back into the network coverage, all the data will be transmitted to the cloud and onto the platform. In this case, there might be a slight delay in the representation of the information on the dashboard, but other than that, no data is lost just because you went out of the coverage zone. For the country offices which have really poor connectivity, or they have a lot of missions to the zones which are outside any coverage, we also utilize a satellite dongle. Satellite dongle, again, it's a plug and play. It does not require any hard wiring. And this dongle provides connectivity through the satellite network. The data presentation of the trip is almost the same, but because it's not connected to the ODB2 port, you won't get all the parameters like you will have from the regular dongle. But for those very important missions outside the coverage zone, it gives you a visibility as to what's happening with your vehicle, where it is now, and how it is being driven. So the main parameters are still be covered, and you will be able to see them on the dashboard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vera. And as we turn to Christina, I see there's a couple of other questions there which also relate to your particular case study. So do feel free to type your answers in to the Q&A because I know as I said, we have a hard stop at 10. So Christina, would you like to weigh in on some of those questions that we highlighted from the Q&A, or if there's others that you see there that you feel you want to address, please feel free to do so as well.
Thank you, Jana. Well, first of all, I tried to respond to some of the questions already in the chat. So at least allow me quickly to point to, there is one anonymous attendees between the difference of IoT and Internet of Everything, although, it's really a very quick response. You can find it in the chat. Concerning, if I may group in the interest of time, some questions related to data privacy and norms. Well, of course, first of all, data privacy, it really entails a lot of, let's say, it involves certainly one part of the work that it is done at the UN level, but as you know, security is usually also a national matter. So if I look, for example, in Europe, the new regulation under the GDPR is regulating actually data privacy issue, in which case, for example, if I look at the question around the personal data privacy, what it is the emerging potential for machine-to-machine negotiation, acceptance, and reporting of terms of data transfer. So that will depend also where that will happen. Of course, eventually, in an ideal world, we would want to have a situation where we allow data to flow by default. Where basically we ask, especially countries, to establish national legal framework that protect the data of private individuals, and these complements, of course, with laws that are in a way protecting the proprietary rights of citizens. Of course, it is clear that it is important to have cybersecurity legislation in place, and this is also, that has to be in line with international norms. And then there has to be hardware accountability within nations. Last but not least, then we have to prioritize, connectivity, technical interoperability, data portability, and data provenance, because we, as I said, that would involve really knowing where the data come from. It's really difficult to envisage a situation right now where data can flow freely without any sort of control, and that's where certainly we stand. There is also probably there was, I think, another question before that was related also to can you give me example case studies where IoT can be used for climate change action and sustainable development? Well, you'll find some already in the presentation, but just to mention a quick one, IoT for, to monitor air quality, and, many cities are implementing sensors actually to monitor air quality. There are also, other related, for example, to use IoT for smart energy, etc. And then probably a last one, as I don't think we do have much more time on that, is in general, for example, the difference between IoT and automation that really goes well beyond, including also other technologies. And is there a way that IoT can help move relevant information more efficiently among UN organizations? Yes, eventually, yes, that's correct, it is. So at some point in time, I feel that probably we will have also to work on that to see how we can use these technologies, not only IoT, also for the UN internal systems. And then, well, for everyone else that would like to write me, I'll put my email on the presentation, so really feel free to write me. I'll be happy to respond to your email or have another, at least in meeting. Thank you.
Fantastic, Christina. Thank you so much to you and to Vera and Johanna and to our audience for their fantastic questions and things they've posted in the chat. That wraps up this TechLearnTalk on Introduction to IoT. You'll find the presentation, etc., on the UN Innovation Network website in their webinar library and also in their TechLearnTalk section. And we look forward to seeing you again for our next one. Have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having us
so
today.
much. Have a
Bye.
lovely day, everyone.